As we take you now to Abra Barbier, who's here in Cape Town, to give us a sense, Abra, a very good morning to you, on whether or not the expectations and the grievances that we continue to hear across various parts of the country, like service delivery issues, whether there's a plan in place and whether or not it can be effective.
Paul, good morning. Before I get to the politics of the day, I just want to tell you I wish you guys could actually see what is happening on this side of the wall. We have the Wynberg Girls High Marimba and Jazz bands behind us. And I mean, even my cameraman is, dancing behind his camera. I mean, my guest as well, we were told to calm down at one point. So there's a really nice vibe here in City Hall at the moment. I'm just so grateful that we are indoors and that we are not doing our crossing outside. So I'm grateful that Parliament has made arrangements for the crossings inside, of course, at the Nelson Mandela exhibition here in City Hall. But let me now get to politics. Ms. Karabo of the DA, National Spokesperson, thank you so much for speaking with us. The President's delivering his opening of Parliament speech address today, and your party is on the inside this time, but you still do have your own expectations and vision and goals. What is it specifically that you would like to hear President Ramaphosa say to the nation today?
Good morning, A, and good morning to your viewers. Thank you for having us. You're right, we are inside, but that doesn't change the fact that we know that South Africa still has a great deal of inequality to address. But poverty levels are very high. The cost of living is suffocating. We know that we have an unemployment rate that still needs to be fixed. We have an economy that is not growing quick enough or fast enough to our liking to get us to where we need to go as a nation. So these are the things that we are on the lookout for, to hear what the President has to say about them. We specifically want to know sustainably what is the GNU going to do to address issues such as the supply of water, such as ensuring that our healthcare works, such as ensuring also that we have no days of load shedding whatsoever, that the bliss we have right now is an ongoing thing. So these are the things that we're looking forward to hearing the President address tonight.
Ms. Khakhau, so people I've been speaking to on the outside, members of the public, family members, friends, wherever I go, everything that we have been hearing over the past few weeks, especially what I've been hearing inside Parliament, the debates are nothing new. It's issues that have been on the table for years and years. Do you think with the GNU that some of these issues can now be fast-tracked with more voices on the table?
And certainly, because that is why we formed part of the GNU to begin with as the Democratic Alliance, to ensure that we're no longer just standing outside criticizing and pointing fingers, that we play a meaningful role on the table with one, bringing the solutions that are necessary, but actually being able to action these solutions, making sure that the people of South Africa get to have a rich experience of what the DA does when it is in government. Because the bottom line is that in terms of government standards, the Democratic Alliance has been able to govern far better than anybody else in South Africa, and this is what South Africa deserves, and that's why our participation in the GNU is important. And when you look at the ministries that we have, as for example, children are in safe spaces, the environment is in safe hands, home affairs and our border control management there is in a safe space, agriculture, which is the backbone of South Africa's economy, is also in safe hands, amongst all the other ministries that we have in our deputy ministries. These are very critical to ensuring that we stay true to that which we promised South Africans during our campaign, that we want to rescue South Africa, that help is on the way for everybody who was tired of the order of the day. And we're very pleased as the Democratic Alliance to have had an opportunity. We've heard what South Africans have dictated to us. South Africans were very clear that, true to democracy, they do not want one dominion rule, that they want to have as many voices championing their interests as possible on the table, and the Democratic Alliance is one of those people. But also, beyond just us being in government, in Parliament, the role of the Democratic Alliance is going to be very crucial moving forward. Nothing changes as far as the brand of the DA is concerned, as far as our ability to hold the executive accountable, drive issues that speak to the best interests of people. We do have a Parliament in the 7th administration that has a lot to deal with. One, we have a VBS scandal in South Africa where people have been left destitute. Poor people who had absolutely nothing else but those monies to rely on in their futures who now have been left to wonder what tomorrow is going to look like. That must be dealt with. We have outstanding matters such as the arms deals that we need to deal with. People who were never brought to book under any circumstance. We certainly also want to ensure that we have a parliament that works, with committee chairpersons that actually take the responsibility of Parliament seriously. And that's why we're very happy to have the chairpersons that we have in the House, both in the National Assembly and in the NCOP, to drive the oversight of Parliament agenda forward, but also to play a meaningful role in tabling legislation that protects people in South Africa.
Karabo, thank you so much for your time. Karabo Khakhau, the DA, speaking about action. And on the topic of action, I'm now going to be speaking with Mr. Athol Trollip of ActionSA. Thank you so much for speaking to us. How are you today, sir?
I'm well, and you? I'm a bit wet, but I'm very well. How are you?
At least we're nice and dry in here. I'm happy about that compared to how it looked outside. Mr. Trollip, I heard Ms. Khakhau spoke about action and delivering and meaningful conversation. What meaningful points would you like to hear President Ramaphosa bring to the table today?
Well, first of all, I thought his tone was very good at the inauguration. It was reconciliatory. He admitted that they'd made mistakes as a government. That's fine, and I commend him for that. But this is about a plan of action. So we want to hear, what is he going to do differently? Because clearly the electorate turned their back on what his previous administration had done. So now we want to see what he's going to do with his new team, how they're going to tackle the seminal issues, our really poor international reputation and local reputation. People don't want to invest in South Africa. And if local investors don't invest, international investors will not invest. So we want to hear him talking about policy certainty, political stability. We want to hear him talking about our grey listing. Grey listing, because we're one of the most corrupt nations in the world. Crime is the biggest disincentive to investment, and our biggest challenge is to grow our economy. He hasn't been able to do that. So I want to hear him talk about those things. We want a plan of action around the issues that affect South Africans the most and the most painfully. And you know, now is not the time for sugary speeches. We had a really good sugary reconciliatory speech at his inauguration. Now it's called the Opening of Parliament Address. To me, it's a plan of action address, and I want to hear his action, because we're in opposition. We're between the Government of National Unity and the Progressive Caucus stroke Regressive Caucus that want to take us back, unconstitutional. They want to live in a paradigm that they were in during Zuma's 9 wasted years. We don't want to live in that kind of paradigm. So we as ActionSA are perfectly situated between those two big blocks in Parliament, and we will hold the government to account. But we've also said we want to be a constructive opposition. We want South Africa to work. That was our electoral slogan, and that's our slogan in Parliament.
Before I let you go, you spoke about the grey listing. Yesterday, the Finance Minister, Mr. Godongwana, spoke about us possibly getting off the FATF list, I think, in the first quarter of next year. Do you think that we are on track to get to that point with things as they stand?
I don't understand how I can make a statement like that. You know, let me give you some examples. MK party is stacked with people who've been implicated in corruption and being charged for it. They're in our parliament. We've got Zizi Kodwa, who resigned as a minister. He's back in our parliament. All the things we do in this country do not speak to us wanting to get off that list. And until we get off that list, we're not cropping up in any international investment destination for big-time investors. And until we start investing in economic infrastructure and investing in townships infrastructure, we're not going to grow our economy. So I don't see that happening. You know, in politics, you've got to walk the talk, not just talk the talk. And Godongwana, it's fine, he can say that's his target, but we want to see something happening today.
Mr. Athol Trollip of ActionSA, thank you so much for speaking to us. I think he's echoing what many South Africans across party lines want, and that is action. But I do believe I am going to be speaking with, you're going to be speaking with my colleague Mariska Botha now, and we will of course catch up with you in a little bit when more opposition parties come and have a chat with us.